Tsugihagi Staccato, or Patchwork Staccato in English, is a song by Toa featuring Hatsune Miku, and it is very sweet. It is very sad. It's very, very sad the more you look into it, but it's really fun. I've been hooked on it for a couple months. So allow me to drastically code swap from depressed gamer to anime musical gotcha oomphy and just reveal a whole other side of my brain as I attempt something I literally explicitly said I probably wasn't going to try to do, which is making a Vocaloid related video. I don't know what these videos are supposed to be like. I don't really watch anything except for Vocaloid music on YouTube, but let's give it a go and see what happens, why don't we? I just wanted to talk about this song. It's very catchy, it's been in my ear, and I feel like I've heard from somebody that it's a lot of people's gateway to the More Jump discography. You don't have to know what that is, don't run away. I'm going to stick them at the end of the video, lest they grow and consume the entire container that they've been placed in, as a goldfish might, the way that Project Sekai conversation often does with Vocaloid things. But I just find this song really charming, and I think it is like an A+, A tier kind of song of the whole Vocaloid library, all the classic songs that I have been exposed to so far, because it is so thematically coherent, and it sticks to its vision so well, but in kind of an interesting, funky way. So let me talk about that and sell you on Patchwork Staccato. So what gets me about this track is the way that Patchwork and Staccato literally permeate it. If you know me, you know I love thematic cohesion, and this is just a wonderland of that. It is in the music, it is in the lyrics, it is in the way that the lyrics and the music sound together in the final product. It even gets kind of worked into the choreography in the music videos as well. It's kind of like a book that is totally okay to judge by its cover. In fact, while I usually reject one of the language titles for a Vocaloid song, either the English or the Japanese of the ones that I know, I feel like Tsugihagi Staccato and Patchwork Staccato both sound really satisfying for different reasons, and I'm not firmly set on which title I use for it. I don't know, they're both using Italian words, to make it more fun, which is, rad, but, even just on their own, it's a cool mix. It sounds really nice. And while Patchwork, I think, just sounds pretty on its own, it's a nice word to get to say now and again, as is staccato, which is the musical idea of going like da, 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 very stiff, segmented. That's the theme here. Tsugihagi really kind of proves itself right away in the very first lyric. Tsugihagi dara ke no kimi. It's this really cute thing where they repeat gi within tsugihagi. Tsugihagi, tsugihagi. It's this gi. It's kind of staccato itself because it's repeating in a segmented kind of pattern within the lyric. And it's right there. It's the first word of the song. They drop the title right at the beginning during the opening crawl or whatever. It's kind of poking. It's kind of fun. It's kind of rising the energy right away. It's a good catch to get the listener interested too. And the whole melody for the verse is true to form, very staccato. So all of this song musically sticks to the idea of these broken little pieces of ideas that sometimes even will make the words not stick together in the phrase, which almost sounds kind of weird or dissonant, but there's a really cool play between the oddness, maybe even the sadness and the brokenness, and this overall feeling of growing as if you're stitching yourself together. Before I understood what the actual meaning of the lyrics were, I hadn't actually looked at them yet, I thought that this was just kind of like a picking up your broken old self and getting out there kind of song, but it's actually a kind of breakup song where you're leaving something behind and moving on in a very melancholy way, trying to convince yourself things will be okay while admitting it's going to be sad. So I think that idea starts right off with these first couple little verses here, these first ideas within the verse. This is so broken, and you can feel the kind of like poking, fussing, like gently puncturing, like pussyfooting kind of hesitance and choppiness of the speaker's thoughts and feelings. And then this climaxes with a ridiculously catchy hook in the chorus. It gets repeated a few times, but like my favorite one is like dakara dakara kitto kitto nante koto nai. Kito, Kito. It's so catchy. I heard this and my friend was playing it, and I'm like, yo, what is that song? Hit me with the Kito, Kito. It's so cute. It's got a few versions, like Iso, Iso, or the killer is Zuto, Zuto. Like, oh my god, it's such a cute idea. And it's literally just that staccato thing I've been talking about. It's so beautiful. It is so freaking tasty. And by the way, adverbs like that, like zuto, forever, they're not usually repeated in Japanese. I mentioned on stream that Chinese, which has a lot in common with Japanese, it gets to enjoy a lot of cute repeated sounds, which are fun to say, but Japanese mostly saves these for onomatopoeia, like doki doki, kira kira, waku waku, or like the famous anime ones. But these adverbs don't usually get repeated, so it's a very kind of mindful, endearing, playful use of the words, like zuto, zuto. It almost sounds a little bit childish. It's very, very, it's very, very real and personal and kind of charming, which makes it a good idol song, as I suppose we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's this thing, but it's not just cute. It also sounds a little bit like you're stuck on repeat, which is something that some fan translations I saw really emphasized, where they couldn't get the three different ideas for the doot, 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 doot. And every single time they captured the general idea with this English idea that numerous people used in different translations, which was, oh, please get out of my life, which I can't make not sound dumb, but I kind of get it. Like, I would work to translate it a different way, especially because they use this as the only lyrics for that melodic idea in the chorus. But oh please get out of my life. Like, I kind of get it because it has this almost begging quality, which is there. Like zuto, zuto, like you're stuck on that feeling forever. That's the most mournful one. And like kito, like definitely, for sure. Like, it has this sort of insistence inside of it. There's a lot of different feelings packed inside of this, on top of it being super fucking catchy, which is such cool songwriting. In this moment, we are so with the protagonist. We can feel her repeating these feelings to herself to convince herself before cutting off, figuratively, this person she's talking about. And it's this very active process. She's like this clockwork doll going through this internal experience over and over in front of us. And it's like, you're really doing your best, but girl, you are really hung up on this still. Ooh. Speaking of clockwork, the second hook, in my opinion, for this song is the ongoing groovy, addictive rhythms that it's made out of. They're these staccato pieces of weird mechanical samples that all get glued together to make a bigger picture where they function. Like, on their own, they're these random bleeps and bloops, but together, they're a big functioning machine. The killer one, the leader of the pack, is in the same line, the same melodic idea. At the end, in the background, only in the original song, you can hear Kito, Kito, nante koto, me, me. There's this sound that comes in at the end. It's this kind of weird alarm clocky digital sound, but every time, Kito, Kito, nante koto nai. And every single time you hear those two simple beats you have to bop your head. You have to, like, I always like tap my fingers together, like beep, beep. It's just so fun and like a little bit sassy. And it just hooks you into the groove. Like, if you aren't already bopping your head, that is such a well-placed little beat. Oh my god, I love it. It just clicks the idea into this larger mechanism so elegantly. I have to just sing along. One more leg that this original Toa version has over the More and More Jump version is there's just a bevy of different samples whirring and buzzing and winding and doing their machine stuff, like right from the beginning. And that's really fun. They don't use as much in the Project Sekai cover, but there are so many little funky sounds in this song. I freaking love it. But they're not alone either, because there's also like actual strings. There's these actual string samples that are going through the whole thing, and there is still a piano, which I feel represents more of the pure inner thoughts, especially when it comes to the pre-chorus, and we're building up and it's now just the piano and Miku, except for the delicate heavenly piano leading her thoughts towards the chorus is doing so while she's singing clock noises, because the clock idea has just completely permeated the song, and she is literally saying like tick-tock along with the piano. So I guess you can never fully escape the artificial side of this song, and even at the most stripped back, it is still this mix of pure emotion and a weird mechanical, metaphorical body that it sort of lives inside. So the body, as I mentioned, there are strings. There are strings. And paired with the rising idea that they often use, do 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 do, or whatever, it feels like growth. It feels like, I honestly just picture like a dolly in a toy store being dressed up with her clothes for the day. I don't know how that works, but I just picture something kind of like charming being created by like a sewing machine before my ears, I suppose. The strings are very organic. They're like one of the most organic things in this. And then the piano, I mean, it's kind of like pure thought whenever it shows up. But then, you know, the vast majority of these samples are just machines and like, whether they're like charging or buzzing or whirring or what. It's so mechanical. And then that brings us back to the question, why patchwork staccato? Why not clockwork staccato? I'm not denying the presence of strings. Strings are everywhere in the lyrics, but fabric? I don't know, like, I haven't really done a deep lyrical analysis on this, to be honest, but there is one feeling I have, just to kind of stick it out there as an early thought. What if the emphasis is on the strings holding everything together? Strings specifically, not cables. Strings are more organic. They're not made out of rubber and copper and wire. You can picture them growing out of the speaker's heart. It's an English idea, but heart strings, you know what I mean? I just feel like strings, no matter how you view them, are more sensitive. They're more fleshy in a weird way. They're more organic. There's carbon in those motherfuckers. I feel like this is very intentional because it's contrasting with the dull relationship that she's growing out of. And that relationship is a patchwork, but not a patchwork like a doll or a stuffed animal where fabric is being stitched together, but a series of parts, rote movements, functions, these objects, these wheels and cogs that the relationship has been relying on, but that are getting too rusty to keep any longer. It's not a good idea to make a robot or a cuckoo clock or anything out of metal and string. It kind of starts to fall apart at that point, but I think you get the idea that there is something artificial being held together by something more physical. And I don't necessarily mean to say artificial bad, natural good, not at all. But there's these ideas, these concepts that she's like fussing with over and over again, but the thing holding it together is more soft, it's more delicate, it's more organic. It's the strings, her feelings, her sentiment to the thing that is falling apart, that she is analyzing, and that she is saying, I should cut the string to. So I think there's a kind of intentional parallel there, even though as an actual thing, it's like, why are there so many why are there so many clock sounds in this Patchwork song? Clocks aren't patchwork, they're clockwork. They're clocks, you know? They're robots. It's not patchwork, but you know, if a string pulls a bunch of things together, is it patchwork? Well, now the patches are where they get the name from, but you get the point. So now for the long-awaited Project Sekai section. I am a very new fan of the Miku Gacha game and all of its original characters, but I am a More Jump fan as of approximately 30 days ago, and I have watched the main story and the story where Airi figures out how to help them become indie. And that's it. But it did leave me with a lot of feelings, realizing that Airi and Shizuku are the ones in this song. When I first heard it, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize it was just them. I figured it was the whole group. And actually, I was pretty damn sure that the gif on tenor of Minori bouncing came from this choreo. I mean, look at her. She's not even hopping. She's full on 33-degree rotating. She is cogging out here. She is literally not even being a human. She is inhumanly swiveling to this beat, and it makes me laugh so much. I always thought the choreo involved Minori hopping and rotating like a fucking, I don't know, like gasket in a car. I don't even know. Like, I laughed so hard. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one where she becomes a piece of metal and rotates on a hinge very briefly. That was my laugh, but once I realized who was actually singing it, it made me smile a lot. So, in main story 1, this is my impression. This is how I feel I was presented to the More Jumpy patch. They are a pair of pairs, and Shizuai are united by the belief that idols are meant to give people hope. But that belief, that philosophy, that seems more like the hard focus of Haruka Minori's story. I feel like what Shizuku and Airi really represent in the group is the practical world of idols and the business. I feel like that's, as a viewer, as a fresh face, I feel like, especially in that story, the philosophical side goes to Minoharu. The practical world is more associated with Airi and Shizuku. Like, they're basically the pros that show up once this whole story gets rolling. And there's more, there's much, much more to that. So there's this idea of, artifice and business, which I'm building towards, but they are a pair. They're a divided pair. Shizuku is naturally successful because she's a beauty, yet she doesn't really get recognized when she does grind and tries to improve herself. I don't know if she's clumsy or what, but she doesn't get the recognition she deserves for the work that she puts in the story, which leads her to leave. Now, Airi isn't born so lucky as to just be pretty and get by, so Airi is characterized by being hyper competent in order to craft her own place in the world through, sweat and tears. But the trick is that rather than resenting each other because they have what the other doesn't have, they are united by that philosophy, the more jump philosophy, I suppose, and that alienates them from their peers in a certain way, which is really interesting. Even though they're opposites, they become a forced pair who inspire each other instead of being jealous of each other, which is amazing, and I really like that. But the point is, while Haruka and Minori are defined by this cycle of inspiration, like, this idea reaching Minori is like what makes her a sparkly idol. When I am presented with this group, I am thinking, oh, Airi has to work herself to the bone to get what she has. She's very, very good with logistics. Like, she is the manager. Like, she's very, very artifice-minded. Well, Shizuku is the natural beauty, and things come more naturally to her, and it's just, a very opposite experience. So to see them singing this song, gives it a different kind of meaning as far as I can tell. I mean, hearing Airi refer to a person who's all patchwork, tsugihagi darake, in the first line always makes me smile because I'm like, girl, you're the one who's all patchwork. Like, your life fell apart and you had to stitch your identity and your self-esteem back together, and you're always putting so much work into creating a persona that people will like because you weren't naturally born that way. Like, when I think about the idea of artifice and this character getting all up in her head about ideas, like, well, Airi's kind of an idea person. She's like has to work with these hard ideals and stuff. So it's very pretty. I don't know, like hearing this song also from the angle of moving on is really nice. The idea of these two letting go of the trash, and the trash is maybe the unfortunate professional situations they used to be in, where they weren't seen for who they were and they weren't valued for what they were, is very, very appealing. I don't know, because it's like right there on the first Sekai album. It's their first song together, their first cover together. I don't know, like, is it supposed to hit harder in the context of Group Story 1? I don't know, but I'd certainly like the idea of them kind of like fussing over this idea of, forcing things to work, moving out of a machine that doesn't work for you anymore, a relationship that doesn't work for you anymore. And I just love the idea of Airi talking about patchwork and fixing things up and just fussing. It's she's almost like an engineer. Like, she's the person who has to handle concepts and stuff. She's very pragmatic, and I think that fits the song really, really well. And yeah, I don't know. I like the dance. I don't have a lot to say about choreography, but I can see the mechanical clockwork side, and it's very pretty, and I like it. Which brings us to the end of the video, which has never happened before. I talked about a Vocaloid song for a whole video. I thought this was gonna be like a 8-minute long video. It's 20 minutes. I only made like 3 paragraph breaks. What the hell did I do? I don't know. This feels weird. This is new. Please let me know what you thought of this approach. Even if it's just condense it to a shorter format. Like, okay. I definitely get that. But just, yeah, let me know what you think. Much appreciated. Literally never done this before. And hold on to your pants, as more traditional gaming content is so much closer than you could possibly fathom in a larger quantity than you're even imagining right now. Because I have like 10 videos that are almost done, and I'm just busy. That's all it is. I'm just busy. I want to get them out. I have a Pulse video I want to make. I've got the Soden podcast. I want to talk about my PS Vita. I just fell in love with Anton Blast. This happened like yesterday. I gotta get moving. I recorded a Metroidvania video like 2 months ago. I want to get it out. Maybe I can get it out after this. I don't know. But I'm glad I got this out while I was passionate. So, see ya.